So welcome back to Canvas Classics. Today we're going to be doing some body work on this Oldsmobile 442. We probably won't have a video Sunday. This one's going to be out Wednesday, but we probably won't have one Sunday because our focus is going to be getting this ready to paint. So the video on Sunday would have been the same as the video on Wednesday. We don't want to do that. So again, probably won't have a video Sunday, but next Wednesday's video is going to be a little bit different and exciting. So be sure and turn in next Wednesday. So what we're going to do, we've got about 3 coats of primer on this that we can sand down. We're going to be using these blocks from DuraBlock. They are a fairly stiff block, so you want to use the biggest one that you can that'll cover. That one's actually, you can see a little wobble in it, so we'll jump down to our smaller one. Still a little wobble, but we'll make that one work. We'll use the big one because we can. But what we're kind of doing, you'll see some marks here on the paint, or on the primer. What we've done is we've gone through and it's kind of hard to see little imperfections and stuff until you get something on there. So we've kind of gone through, we're marking these off. We did as much as we could with just our shop lights. We're going to go ahead and turn on this one, so we can get down in here and we can see their spots. So here's a little spot. There's one. So these are spots that if we don't address them now, they're really going to show up in the finished product of the paint. The top's not as big of a concern. We will be going to a vinyl top, but just little imperfections. There's just a little scratch there. Our trunk lid actually looks really good, so that's why we can go ahead and we'll get it going.
Need to build that up just a little bit.
So most of these are just like little fine scratches or blemishes. That's fine because that's just some runs. That'll sand down when we sand it. You're just kind of wanting to turn the light because it'll catch. That one probably would have been fine, but you know, we're going for to make this look good, so we're just kind of getting all these marked. Dad can address them while I'm at work, so we'll call that good. And we'll hop on and show you how to do some blocking. Okay, so on our block, it's 320 grit paper. And when you're blocking, you don't want to go in a straight fashion. And you want to be real careful when you come to edges. So I'm kind of going to do the middle with this long block. So if you just do back and forth, what you're going to do is dig deep down in, and then you've got to fix it. So you want to go on a crosshatch pattern. That kind of takes your scratches and kind of evens them out. Okay. So what we're doing with the 320 is getting it a nice, smooth, taking care of any minor imperfections, scratches. And just use my hand to feel for any rough spots. So once I get like here, you can feel it's rough. Here's pretty smooth now. I'm gonna jump over. I'm gonna use this little one to get my edges. Again, cross pattern. I haven't checked this panel, so we won't get into it. As you can kind of see right here, we got a light gray and a darker gray. So the darker gray is where I haven't sanded yet. And so it is okay to kind of give that edge a run like that. I'm just feeling for any spots that are still rough. As you can see, this is just a time-consuming process, which is why we're going to be doing it for the next several days. Okay, so I'm coming up on this curve. I don't want to get it thin around that curve. Make sure we got a lot of this is just feeling it. So again, we're using 320 for right now. And it's going to leave some scratches. So if we was to go right over this with paint, it's going to look horrible. So again, this is about as big of a block as I can get, and I'm just staying off this edge because I'm just gonna kind of just roll it. I'm basically holding it and letting the sandpaper do all the work on that. Not putting any pressure on the block. Because if I put pressure on it, we're gonna cut through that. Anytime that you go over an angle or anything like that, the whatever material you're using, paint, primer, they all seem to get thin. And you'll notice right here, there's kind of the same thing. It's a seam. So I'm just going to kind of work up on it. If it's a hard seam, you want to tape it. Since this just kind of rolls over, we're not We just want to take care of around it. And then we kind of got to work that and just smooth right in the middle. And kind of while I'm running this, I'm running it side and up and down, so that we don't get big scratches. So let me finish this out. I'm getting down here. We're probably going to have to tape this, mate. Well, we're going to have to find, we have us another sanding block that's rounded. This has a very unique round spot right here. So we're going to have to build that other block. So let us do that. We'll finish blocking this out and come back to you with the next step. Okay, so we got it blocked out. What we're going to use next is, we're using the Duragold products. Different body shops use different things. This is what we're using. This is a dry guide coat. So if you kind of look on here, you can kind of see the scratches. This will accentuate those so that we can really see them. So we did our first pass with 320. Basically what you're doing with this is removing scratches. So our first one was with 320. Well, technically our first was probably with 180 on a sanding, on a air sander to prepare it to accept the primer. So primer's filling the 180s. .320s, getting rid of those 180 scratches. Our last step, and we'll probably end up doing this because we're going to spray a little bit more, so there is a chance we'll get a little overspray on this. We'll probably run over it again with the one, our next one's going to be 600 grit. Very fine paper. This is just a guide coat so that we can see the scratches. If we run into a spot where the guide coat's still there and we've sanded around it, then we know it's a low spot or a high spot around it. So we'll go back and fix those, but the trunk was pretty good. We didn't really have to do much to it. It fit the body really well. There wasn't much damage at all to it, so we haven't really welded on it or done anything like that. That way. So I am going to be using my smaller block, just because the sandpaper is still good on my big block. But I didn't want to peel it off, throw it away. So I threw 600 on my smaller block, which is fine. And basically what we're doing, same thing. But we're looking for we still got a little bit of scratches here. Again, this is 600 grit. It's almost like just rubbing paper across there. But this is what takes time. Your paint job is probably 90% prep. If you get the prep work right, you know, all the primers sanded good, everything's nice and smooth. When you go to put the paint on, it's gonna go good. So let me actually grab a cardboard and I'll show you what tends to happen. This won't work. If I can get it out. Grab my marker here. So this is what happens when you paint. It's almost impossible to get it perfectly clear. You know, there's nothing going to be underneath the paint, so you end up with a little hair fiber or some sort of fiber, and you lay down your, you know, your first coat, and that goes up over. You lay down your next coat, and it takes it a little bit bigger. Next coat bigger. There's your primer, then you start adding paint. Pretty soon, all of a sudden, you've got this big lump there in your paint. So your paint's, you know, typically should be, you know, smooth, but now you've got this in it. So when you run your hand across there, you look at it, you've got these little dimples, bumps. So this is what, why prep work is so important. So if I can take this out with my primer, so, you know, I still got the little bit there, and I can build up my primer to there, and then when I sand that, I have a nice flat surface. Then when I go to lay my paint on there, it's going to be flat for the most part. So, you know, a good show quality paint job, you're gonna have your primer, you're gonna have 2 or 3 coats of paint, possibly a little bit more, and then at least 3 coats of clear. And the clear depends. Sometimes it's, you put 6 coats of clear and cut 3 off. That's how you get the nice smooth glass finishes. Once you get the clear on there, you're cutting away some of the clear that you've put on so that you have a nice smooth finish. That's what gives you the depth. Looks like the paint's a mile deep. But the important thing is prep work, so that's what we're doing. So this area right here, is pretty much a few spots right here. Let me hit those. And as you can see, it's now fairly just gray. So what this black does is it gets down in those grooves and you can see it. So now that I've got basically all the black off, this area, this little spot right here that we sanded on for a couple minutes is good. We still have this whole thing, we have the whole car. So that is why it's gonna take a little bit, and we don't wanna have video after video of the same thing. So that's what we got. Thanks for watching, like, share, and subscribe.